Relax, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Omega Dantaya Vidmahi Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namah Gam Ganapataye Namo Namah Gam Ganapataye Namo Namah Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari
Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang means essentially spiritual community. It's a Sanskrit word that literally is community of truth. Wherever two or more people come together who are seekers of truth on the path of awakening, you've got a satsang. And we strengthen one another. In fact, our strength is multiplied when we come together and share our presence and our insights. So welcome. The Flowering Heart Satsang isn't a formal membership kind of organization. We are simply an informal gathering of people on the path of awakening from all over the world, from different continents and countries, from different belief systems, teachers and teachings. What we have in common is that we share the ongoing experience of awakening and the flowering of our hearts with unconditional love and compassion and oneness with the divine. So welcome. We share throughout the satsang tonight and every time we come together the Flowering Heart Blessing. The Flowering Heart Blessing is a direct transmission of divine presence, grace, awakened consciousness, love. It's a gift from the divine that's given to humanity with a purpose. And that purpose is to catalyze awakening, particularly the flowering of our hearts in oneness with the divine source that dwells within us. As that begins to happen, we discover that what we've been looking for has been inside of us all along. That our true essence is the divine itself. It is fully divine and fully enlightened. So there's nothing out there but reflections. It's all mirrors. The light in the face of your guru or your master or a vortex, a place of power, some outward experience. All those are mirrors. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world to show us the light that's shining out of our own center. It's reflecting in those mirrors of our teachers and our outer experiences of light. So the Flowering Heart Blessing cuts right to the chase and turns us directly to the center of our spiritual heart, where the divine, in fact the entire universe, dwells within us. As we awaken, the veils remove from our spiritual eyes, and when we look into each other's eyes, we see ourselves looking back at us, because we are one and the same being. There is one being and one consciousness in the universe, expressing itself through myriad forms, myriad beings. And the problem for humanity is that most of us are living in a dream, a delusion of separate existence, where when we look into each other's eyes, we may fear each other, fearing that the other will take advantage of us, harm us. And so that's where all of this competition, conflict, and war comes from in the human experience. As we awaken, all of that's replaced with cooperation, harmony, and peace. So what needs to happen on earth today is humanity needs to shift from the delusion of separate existence, separate from the divine light, separate from each other, separate from nature, which is why we harm the planet and the environment, into oneness. That's a spiritual happening, one person at a time. We're reaching a point, though, where many of us believe that the collective consciousness itself will tip from that separation consciousness that's full of conflict and war and fear into real awakened consciousness of our oneness with each other and with all that is. The Flowering Heart Blessing is one of those gifts of grace that the divine is giving humanity in this time to help us awaken. These blessings have been around forever, and there are many forms of blessing, Diksha, Shaktipat, transmissions of light. It's always been around, but until recently it was never so available to anyone that wants it. And there have never been so many people experiencing awakening and deeper levels of awakening. So in one respect, it's an exciting time to be alive. On the other hand, as we approach that tipping of the collective consciousness, there's tremendous resistance. There are people that don't even believe that there's an environmental problem on this planet. People are making that up. And on it goes. But there's resistance to awakening into oneness. There's conflict and war and corruption and unparalleled violence in many places. We're going to get through this, but it's a little rough right now. So it's really important that we stay connected, which is where the internet can be a great tool of grace, and keep sharing our energy, sharing our light with one another. In these meetings, well, yeah, you're right, John, and the reason my mic needs turning up is it wasn't even turned on, so I hope Suzanne was picking it up. Yeah, thanks for that. Oops. The good thing is we're so close to each other, these condenser mics. A week or so ago, Suzanne forgot to turn hers on, and you can still hear what she was saying through my mic, but it's better if they're both on, indeed. So we open it at this point to questions about the spiritual journey, about spirituality, meditation, awakening, anything relating to spirituality and the path of awakening. And that serves as a catalyst. The divine is moved to give us inspiration to share, and it brings clarity and deeper understanding. So bring it on. And I see that Michael Christopher's already posted one. So, okay, we'll tackle that one. Michael asks, before I do though, if you're here, even if you're not here and you drop in later, please give us a like or a love, a thumbs up or a heart. Every once in a while people give us a sad face, and that makes me sad, but we'll pray for you. But preferably a heart or a thumbs up. And then at the end, we can look and see who dropped in. Right now I'm only seeing my name up there. So I'm trusting the rest of y'all will do that before you leave. And if you're watching this days or weeks or any time after it was recorded, still give it a like or a love. And I look in during the week to see, because there's so many more people that watch it between one Monday night and the next. And I like to tune in and send hugs and blessings to you folks. If you're watching this on Vimeo, you have to enter a comment in the chat with your actual name. Sometimes people use a fake name, a tag, and I don't know who that is. So Michael asks, and so much love for you too, Yekaterina. Michael Christopher asks, what is meant by keeping your eye singular? And how do you do that? I mean, that's a great question. And usually it's a reference to the Sermon on the Mount, the most amazing teaching, I think, that Christ gave that's recorded in words. And in it, he gives some very, very profound instructions. But one verse says, if your eye is single, then your body is filled with light. And it's an oft-quoted verse. As it turns out, that might not be the best translation from the Greek. Most of the modern translations say, if your eye is healthy, if your eye is clear, your body will be filled with light. But the King James translators often nailed it with their translations. And I think that having your eyes single is exactly what Jesus was talking about. And so, what was he talking about? Well, in this part of the Sermon on the Mount, he's talking about where you set your heart. What are you desiring in life? And he said that we shouldn't seek to lay up treasures on the earth, where moth and rust corrupts and thieves can break in and steal, our houses can burn down, our treasures can be lost, so he said, don't make your treasure earthly, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust can corrupt, and thieves cannot break in and steal your treasure in heaven. What's he talking about? Well, first of all, Jesus was very clear from the beginning of his public ministry. He wasn't talking about off there in the sweet by and by. He said when he came out of 40 days of fasting in the desert and he first began to preach, the first words he spoke were, "Be awakened and experience that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, is here." So the heaven he was talking about is right here. It's the spiritual dimension where the divine is all in all and reigns supreme. It's the light. And earthly treasure, well, we all know what the earth is all about, and it's primarily material and dense and is filled with all kinds of stuff other than the light of peace and love and wholeness that are characteristics of the heavenly realm. So he suggested that we invest our efforts in building up treasures in the spiritual dimension where the presence of the divine is everything. And he said, because wherever your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So if you're seeking oneness with God, if you're seeking illumination, if you're seeking the flowering of your heart, if you're seeking to pour out divine love to heal and to serve and to help others, then that's where your heart is going to be. Your heart's going to be stabilized in the presence. If you seek earthly treasures, then your heart's going to be mired, stuck in density, where there's all kinds of corruption and disintegration, and where thieves are breaking in and stealing from each other. It's that realm of selfishness and duality I was talking about, where humanity mistreats one another. Okay. And then after he said, let your treasure be in heaven, not on the earth. Wherever your treasure is, there will your heart be. So you can live in the presence by a choice of where you set your desires. Or you can live in all the chaos of earth if your treasure, if your desires and your efforts are all set on earthly attainments. And then he says that the light of your body, or the light of the body, is the eye. And what he meant was the light of your body is what you set your attention on. That's what he meant by the eye. It refers to the attention of your mind. Whatever you're setting your mind on, that's going to fill your body. So if your eye, meaning your attention, your consciousness, is set with singleness on the heavenly treasure, on oneness with the divine, on oneness with nature, on oneness with all that is, on awakening, on God realization, on doing the will of the divine. If that's where your attention is set, he said your body, your physical body, will be filled with light. But, he said, if your eye is evil, or other translations would say corrupt or unclear, and by that he means dualistic. If your eye is set on the things of the world and the things of the Spirit at the same time, then he says the light that is in you is darkness. It's tainted. And if the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? A lot of people in this position don't even know it, because they're using the laws of attraction, for instance, the laws of manifestation, which are spiritual laws of the spiritual kingdom, to amass treasure on the earth. They want They want the goods. They want the wealth, the earthly treasures. They want the money. They want the power. They want the prestige and the reputation. And he said, if you're using your spiritual light to go after that stuff with it, then actually the light that's in you, I mean, you might think I'm very evolved in the realm of manifestation, you know. I'm accomplishing great things using the spiritual laws that I've mastered. He said, if that's your light, the light that is in you is darkness, and how great is that darkness? And then he goes on to say, for you cannot serve the divine and mammon. The word actually that's used there in the Greek text is mammon, which is essentially the god of wealth. So to clarify it, he said you cannot serve God and wealth, money. That doesn't mean money's bad. He never said that anywhere. He's misquoted Christ as saying that money is the root of all evil. He didn't say that at all, because they kept a bag of money to help feed the orphans and the poor in Jesus' ministry. And he says that God will bless you with abundance and wealth. In fact, all through the Judeo-Christian scriptures, there's the promise that if you walk in harmony with Spirit, that not only will you have heavenly treasure, but all the beautiful, wonderful things of earthly life will be provided for you. So, I think you get the picture. So he's suggesting that we don't serve money and wealth and possessions, that we serve the divine will. And if we do that, he goes on to say, well, look at the sparrows and the birds. They don't have to work. God takes care of them, and the grass of the field, nothing's clothed as beautifully and gloriously as the flowers, and they don't toil, they don't labor. And he said, you're of much more importance to the Heavenly Father than maybe some of these other things. You're the apple of God's eye. So he says, seek first. He doesn't say don't seek anything else, but he's saying seek first the kingdom of God and its righteousness. And all these things that you need and desire will be given to you. And then he caps this whole teaching with saying, sufficient for today are the challenges and the troubles and the problems of today. Don't get caught up in the future. Just live here and now and deal with what's on the step right in front of you. And everything will be provided for you. So that's what he meant. But it's not just the teaching of Christ that talks about it. A lot of the Eastern teachings that speak of the third eye, the sixth chakra, talk about, well, if you study Kundalini and the energy channels that are cultivated in yoga, you have the Shushumna, the central channel, that the Kundalini, the divine energy, rises up, awakening the chakras as it's awakened and rises and soars toward the light. But wrapped around that are these two spiraling channels. One is masculine and one is feminine. And they wrap around the central channel, and they finally come together and meet right here at the third eye chakra, Agnya. And that's the end of duality. I mean, everything is yin and yang right up to that point. Beyond that, everything is in oneness. And so part of the goal, and actually many of the spiritual practices and meditations have people focus their attention on that single God's eye, which is an open door to the infinite, to the transcendent. In my tradition of Taoist alchemy, internal alchemy, our lineage poem says, bring the eyes together to obtain or to create the golden elixir. And that elixir is Amrit in yoga, in Taoist Negong. That's the golden elixir of immortality. It's It's one of the fruits of the raising of Kundalini, or of the dragon energy. But bring the eyes together and obtain the golden elixir. And so you'll see references to making the eyes one in a lot of traditions. So there's a metaphysical part of it, but I think the most important thing here is what Jesus was saying about where you set your heart and how that will affect the course of your life. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, it's good.
Thanks. You just elicited a treatise, Michael. A brief one. Ekaterina writes, nowadays I feel like an alien in the earth. I feel people feel really separate from God. For me today, I was charged for the fixing of a refrigerator by a phantom company, and when I tried to find out what happened, I just received rude and shameful behavior. I will, of course, try to get my money back, but it's heartbreaking, and I also find taxes undivine. Yeah, these issues have been going on forever. Go ahead.
It's just incredible. When you were answering Michael Christopher's question, it just makes me think of how programmed we've been, to work, to pay taxes, to do things this way and that way, and oftentimes it's just a huge distraction, because then we're into consumerism and buying stuff and desiring and having wants for things. And I really like the way that you explain that, because it takes us back to basics. Let's work on our spiritual life first. I read a book when I got out of college. I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, and it was called Making Money, but it wasn't really at all about making money. It was talking about how contemplate and make lists and find what you love to do and what you're good at, what are your strengths. But it also said to take time to meditate and pray about it and develop that. They said it would be like trying to put a house together without blueprints. Yeah. So the deeper we dive into our own spirituality and connection with the divine presence, that's the blueprint of our life from which we can build on.
Nice. A few comments on some of the things that Ekaterina said. Nowadays you feel like an alien on Earth. Well, you're not. Actually, those people who feel separate from each other, from God, from the earth, they're kind of alien. And that's, without getting into all of that, you're not an alien. You belong here. You are Elohim. You are a child of the divine in human form. That's what makes us feel sometimes alien, because there's a part of us that knows that we're angelic beings, that we are spirit beings. We're not just humans. We are Elohim. We are the offspring of God. And when you talk about children of God, well, dogs have puppies. Monkeys have little monkeys. Cats have kittens. Gods have gods. And in the beginning, gods said, let us make humanity in our image after our likeness. So, in a sense, we are beings from a whole other realm of existence who have been incarnated into these very animal-like forms. And the animals are great too, don't get me wrong, I love the animals. But there's something about us that remembers and feels and longs for our heavenly home. And so, but you're certainly not alien in the earth. In fact, alienated means separated from. And yes, people feel very separate from God in the world today. Not everybody. So many of us are awakening to oneness. But yes, as we do that, the polarization of people that are in a separate state, it seems to be becoming more and more intense. It is for them. And eventually they'll awaken out of that. What was done to you with the refrigerator? Sorry about that. We'll hold that in prayer. And then you conclude with also, I find taxes undivine, which brings me back to the teachings of Jesus, because this was a big deal in Jesus' time, because they were being occupied by Roman armies and by the Roman emperor. And the Roman emperor required the Jewish people to pay taxes to Rome, to serve the benefit of Rome. And that was a real sore point. But one day, they came to Jesus and said, "Is it lawful?" And they meant divinely lawful for us to pay taxes to Caesar. And he said, give me one of the coins you pay your taxes with. And they handed him one of these coins, and he said, "Whose image and inscription is on this coin?" And it was, all of the Roman coins bore the images of one of the Caesars, one of the emperors. And they went, "Oh, that's the image of Caesar." And he said, "Then give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." So actually, everything is divine. It's just now a lot of the material and dense aspects of human creation on earth is disordered. And actually that's a favor. We're not automatons, we're not puppets, that we have free will, creativity, we get to make mistakes and learn and fall down and get up again, and that's how we grow as spirit beings. So everything is divine, because everything here, even those Roman coins with the emperor's seal on it, is made of the stuff of God, the substance of God. In the divine we live and move and have our being. Everything is made of divine presence, divine stuff. There's nothing outside of that. So we just need to become more illumined, and we'll be able to see light in everything. I admit, seeing light and paying taxes is pretty much a challenge. But I mean, the Master Christ addressed that very issue and said, keep it clear. There are certain earthly responsibilities that seem troubling and unenlightened and dense and not of God. And we want to just be free from all of that and just live in the heavenly spirit. But here we are, heavenly spirits in human earthly bodies. And the challenge for us is to bring the spirit and the matter together into one. And that's the understanding of yoga in the Chinese Taoist tradition. It's to bring heaven and earth together, to bring our spiritual dimension, which we don't have any trouble with, together with our physical dimension, which has all kinds of troubles and pains and is mortal and all of that. And oneness is achieved for a Taoist yogi when matter and spirit, when our physical nature and our spiritual nature are fused and become one. In India, yoga is more thought of union with God. And certainly that's part of it. But there's this union of the stuff that we don't want to be wrapped up in with what we are, which is divine spirit. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to fully embody our spiritual dimension in and through these human forms and this human life. And it's transforming to us and to everybody that crosses our path, because there's something different going on in people that are doing that. Great question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. Hi back, Carolyn. Let's check over here and see if, okay. Any other questions, comments, answers? Wait just a minute. I didn't even have to read any quotes tonight. We dove right in.
Yay. I like the quotes, but...
Yeah, I had 20 quotes for a happy life. Yeah. I'll save it for another time. And a bunch of quotes, wisdom from people who lived to be over 100 and what they had to say about the secret of their longevity. That's a nice one too. 20 years ago, there were only 20,000 people on Earth who were over 100. Now, there are over 500,000 people, and that's way beyond population growth. Over 500,000 people are over 100 right now. And more are becoming super centenarians, which is people that are 110 or older. So longevity is becoming increasingly within range for people, but actually, and I'm looking forward to that, I don't know when that will come, but there will come a time where spirit and matter are fully fused in many people. And that's what in yoga is called immortality. When the physical body becomes completely transformed, not just into energy, we're learning a lot about energy, but spirit. Because spirit's beyond energy, it's pure consciousness. When our physical bodies and pure consciousness completely merge, death has nowhere to enter. And there have been yogis, famous ones, who have achieved that over the centuries. I mean, hugely famous is Mahavatar Babaji in India. And there have been quite a few of the Himalayan masters. Also in China, there's a long tradition of Taoist immortals that practiced a different kind of energy yoga that also, which I was describing, the union of matter and spirit, comes to that same place. So I'll read some of those longevity quotes another time. And I'm not seeing any more questions, so...
It's time to dive in anyway.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Carolyn says, does that mean they don't die? Well, that is literally what immortality means, but you don't die. You are never going to die because you are a spirit. Spirits are not limited by time or space. Your mind may be, and your body may be, but you are an eternal spirit being. So I used to tell Suzanne, you're as dead as you're ever going to get. It's true. Okay, but does that mean their bodies never die? Essentially. They cannot keep that form forever. I've heard from a number of masters, very high beings, that an immortal yogi can only maintain their form for around 1,000 years, which is interesting. That's what the biblical patriarchs lived, around 1,000 years, way back at the beginning of stuff. But eventually, everything changes. So the form has to morph and has to change, but it doesn't die. It just transforms. So about 1,000 years is what most sources say, but then you've got Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, the Atlantean Thoth, who was a huge influence among the ancient Egyptians, among the ancient Greeks, among many ancient cultures. And Thoth has been around for like 26,000 years and still manifests to some people physically. He's got some deal where he keeps his form ongoing. So potentially, but the deal is, to get there, you've already died. I mean, the ego has died, selfishness has died, fear has died, and the resurrection has blossomed. So the mortal life has been replaced with something magnificently beyond our ability to comprehend. And that can never die. So, okay, now let's close our eyes. And open your heart and invoke the presence that dwells within you. For this divine presence, this infinite presence, dwells fully within each and every one of us in the center of our hearts. But it's also everywhere. It's not just in our hearts. It's absolutely everywhere, in everything, and through everything, and beyond all that is. Welcome the divine presence that is pure, unconditional love, that is your source, that loves you beyond your ability to comprehend, and yearns to free you from the illusion of separateness and awaken you to the realization of your true oneness with the divine and with all that exists. So many of us have made heroic efforts to become awakened, to become enlightened. Some of us have spent many lifetimes and are beginning to come to the realization that we cannot, through our own efforts, enlighten ourselves. We need to simply let go. And allow the divine itself to give us the gift of awakening and transformation. The divine knows what you need. It's all-knowing. It knows how to turn this thing around in your life. It is all-powerful, all-wise, and all-love. There is no distance between you and this source of pure light. Just receive the blessing of grace. And allow yourself to be drawn into the center, not by your efforts, by love, and awakened, freed from suffering, healed through and through, flooded with light, insight, understanding. Let your body be healed, your relationships be set right, and let the light flood out of the center of your being through every layer, spirit, soul, and body. we're going to dive right into the light meditation. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just keep gazing at least one of our eyes. As we enter the light meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of love and light and grace. And it floods out of every pore of our being to you, especially through our eyes, which mystics have called the doorways of the soul. The light streams out of our eyes, in through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, and causes the light of awakening, flames of divine love and union to burn brighter and brighter and brighter within you. Nothing for you to do but just receive and allow. Meditate with us for just a few more minutes as the grace we've received settles within. Now keep meditating as long as you want to. You could also find a place to lie down in Shavasana. That's to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with the palms open, turned upward, and just allow yourself to dissolve in gratitude in the presence. It's a wonderful way always to finish yoga or meditation or spiritual practice. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Till we meet again, know that the divine in us beholds the divine in you, and we bow to you. Namaste.